Made a campaign stop on the Breakfast Club show where she shared her thoughts on some issues the country is facing right now. Take a look.
With Obama, that was, if you go back, that's when we really started to feel the division. That's when it was...
A lot of that was because of white supremacists, though.
Well, no, I think it was everything. Everything was exaggerated with the Obama administration. It became more about gender. It became more about race. People felt like they were being put in camps through that administration.
You said you believe that states have the right to secede.
I think states have the right to make the decisions that their people want to make. If Texas decides they want to do that, they can do that.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the cackling hens on The View and their reaction to the Breakfast Club interview featuring Charlamagne the Devil and Nikki Haley. And I got to tell you guys, I'm actually getting sick and tired of Charlamagne being a major political figure because, one, he's not really qualified or educated enough to actually do what he's doing, okay, to be interviewing vice presidents and presidential candidates, but he is doing that. And when he does interview them, when he does talk to these people, the only thing that this man wants to talk about is race and racism and white supremacy. He quite literally cannot have a conversation or to articulate any point or argument without boohoo, whine, and crying racism. Like, that whole interview was not him asking Nikki Haley about her actual policies, okay, or, anything having to do with wanting to get us involved in foreign wars, the important stuff that you should be asking somebody like Nikki Haley. No. He talked about racism and white supremacy the whole damn interview, and it was very annoying, okay? But they love talking to Nikki Haley about race. In fact, that's the only thing they want to talk to Nikki Haley about, and it's probably the only thing you're allowed to talk to Nikki Haley about without being accused of being a sexist, okay? Because if you criticize Nikki Haley on anything besides her views on race, then the sexism and bigotry card will come out, right? That's kind of how this goes, okay? But again, it seems like the only legitimate criticisms of Nikki Haley, at least from the left, is her views on race, okay? And they really, really, really want her to get on board with the woke agenda when it comes to race. This is why they don't want to stop talking to her about it, okay? So with that being said, they're reacting to Nikki Haley's views on race and the things she said during the Breakfast Club conversation. And I want to talk about a very particular part of this conversation on The View featuring Sunny Hostin, who is going to cry about the country being racist. And as proof and evidence that the country is racist, she's going to make a wild claim about her son being called the N-word in Florida, right? As proof and evidence that this country is racist and that white supremacy is such a big threat to so-called people of color. Now, the irony here is that Sunny Hostin, for as much as she complains about the racism in America, she is the biggest racist on The View. Like, for example, she infamously said that being a black Republican is an oxymoron. Take a look.
But I do say that I have many conservative values that I will talk to you about. And so if you look at your network that you're standing behind, yes, and when you look at your network that you're standing behind, you're saying that you look at Chris Cuomo.
I feel like that's an oxymoron, a black Republican.
You feel like it's an oxymoron?
I do.
Why? Your friend right here is a Republican.
We had this conversation many times.
You do, and you say you feel like it's an oxymoron that you're Catholic, but you also are pro-life.
I don't understand either.
No, you don't understand yourself then. You have disagreements.
I understand myself. I don't understand either of
this. But it's not a personal conversation. Yeah. We're having a personal conversation about CNN and how
black
things can get leaked.
And I don't understand Latino Republicans.
Well, today this is not about me, and it's not about you. It's about celebrating Corinne Jean-Pierre
and I think we should, and we can agree on that.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that, okay? The racist who doesn't think that it makes sense to be a Latino Republican or a black Republican, and also the same person that thinks that white women only vote Republican to support the patriarchy. Again, she is boohoo, whining, and crying about the country being racist, okay? And that is essentially the conversation that is going to be had here, where she's going to get in an argument with Miss Alyssa Farah Griffin on this conversation that never ends about America allegedly being a racist country. So let's get into it.
Of the Obama years leading to divisiveness,
I think Van Jones said it appropriately. He said that the Trump vote was a white lash. It was a response to a black president and seeing a black man be the most powerful person on earth.
Two times, by the way.
Twice.
2 times.
I think it.
You know what I love about this? They always try to say, well, Trump was a product of racist America backlashing against a black man becoming president, okay? Which, again, it's funny because they can't analyze anything except using race, okay? But if you look at that same primary that Trump was in, 2015, 2016, Ben Carson, who is black, was very competitive, at least early on, and at least up until 2016. He was extremely competitive, okay? In some states, in the polls, he was outright leading. He was winning straw poll after straw poll. He was consistently rated as the most likable candidate out of all the GOP candidates in the race. His favorability among conservatives was very high. I mean, conservatives love Ben Carson, and they still love Ben Carson. I can make an argument that if Trump wasn't in the race in 2015, 2016, Ben Carson could have won, right? He would have been a lot more competitive, okay? So to say that Trump's election was a result of white lash because America had a black president, that to me doesn't make sense, because if that was the case, then the GOP would not have had somebody like Ben Carson, who did very well in the GOP primary, considering that he's not a politician and that it was his first time running. Okay, he basically came out of nowhere and was polling very favorably among the base. So it doesn't have anything to do with skin color as much as it really has to do with the fact that Trump, and the way he campaigned in 2015, 2016, is that he addressed the issues that a lot of Democrats failed to address, particularly when it comes to voters in the Rust Belt and the Midwest. Okay, a lot of jobs were shipped overseas. Democrats had essentially abandoned those voters, and Trump really spoke to those voters and presented an alternative to those voters. And that's ultimately how Trump won, right? When you look at, again, some of these states, the Rust Belt states, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, etc., that's where Trump actually really won. That's how he won the presidency back in 2015, 2016, okay? Doesn't really have much to do with race or Obama being black. But with that being said, I mean, I think that Nikki Haley's statement that Obama did lead to a lot of division in this country is true. Under Obama, we saw the race riots start, okay? BLM started on Obama. The far left woke agenda when it comes to LGBTQ issues became a lot more emboldened under Obama. He became a lot more progressive the longer that he was in office, okay? And that progressivism has gone off the rails, and here we are today in 2024 in Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff world, and a lot of that got started, or put it this way, it went off a cliff. It started to go off a cliff during the Obama administration, especially towards the end of his administration.
Was a certain group of voters that were afraid that that was a very diverse vote. White people, black people, Spanish people, Asian people. Everyone voted for a black man with unassailable character.
Well, people voted for him because they thought that he would be a unifier, okay? That's why people voted for him, because, again, back in 2007, 2008, him and Joe Biden were a lot more conservative than they ended up being after they got out of office, okay? You look at Joe Biden today versus Joe Biden back in 2007, 2006. I mean, they're not the same politician, right? It's not the same person, okay? They're completely different, okay? So that's why people voted for Obama, okay? Because they thought that he would be a unifier, but he actually became a divider. And that's just the reality of what happened.
And I think in response to that, they felt otherized, threatened, and they decided that Trump was their messiah.
But don't blame it on
President
Obama.
Obama
Blame it on Trump.
But President Obama actually got flack during his presidency. He was not someone who leaned fully into his identity. He did not. People felt he didn't do enough leaning into.
Well, he leaned into identity. People felt he didn't do enough for black people.
That's what I mean, though. For black people,
he was the president
they're
of
making
all
it
of
sound
them,
like
all
that's
Americans.
when everyone went. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we've talked about this half a dozen times. I don't agree with where Nikki Haley is on race. I'm much closer to where Joe Biden is in 2021. I don't think the American people are racist. I think there's a history of racism, or Vice President Harris saying, no, I don't believe that America is racist, but there is a history and we're still living with racism that we have to deal with.
And there are plenty of racist people in this country.
And there are
Yeah, that's
absolutely
right.
racist people in this country. It is not the vast majority of people in this country, and I feel
We
like
don't know
Well,
We
what
don't
the
know
FBI
that.
director said white supremacy is
But
the
that does-
biggest
but that
threat
still
to our
doesn't-
country today.
Well, that still doesn't mean that that's the vast majority of people are. I just don't believe that in my day-to-day life that the people that you're encountering harbor racist viewpoints. I do think that this division that
If
we're
you
creating.
look like me, you would believe
But
differently.
you know what?
Wow. Incredible stuff. Okay. The millionaire attorney on The View who gets paid millions of dollars to talk about subjects that she really doesn't know what she's talking about. She believes that if you look like her, then you would know that America is a racist country. Wow. Amazing stuff. I'm not sure if she knows that Alyssa Farah Griffin is at the very least half Arabic, right? So she is actually Arabian, okay? At least half Arabian. So, hey, Alyssa Farah Griffin may consider herself to be brown, right? She might not necessarily consider herself to be white, okay? But regardless, it's amazing how this lady is so dead set on pulling the victimhood card, trying to pretend and act like her life is so hard because she's a half black, half Latino woman living in the United States, who is an example of the fact that only in the United States, somebody like her could do what she's doing to achieve the success that she has achieved. Somebody that looks like her can only do that in the United States of America, right? She wouldn't be able to do it anywhere else in the world except here. But hey, this country is so racist, which who knows? You know, the woke revolutionaries may have a point in regards to the racism that we're seeing being normalized against whites, okay? Because that is happening at an institutional level. It is systemic. When you're talking about affirmative action, when you're talking about DEI, when you're talking about the anti-white sentiment from the mainstream liberal media, again, in segments like this, you're seeing an example of it. I think there's a case to be made that, hey, maybe America is a racist country, but just not the case that these people are making, where they're trying to act like America is so antagonistic towards so-called people of color, when, again, we're literally talking about a country that voted for a half African, East African president, right? Again, it's amazing how that works. It's really amazing. These people are so dead set on continuing to divide the country that, hey, maybe they are a self-fulfilling prophecy, okay, in the sense that they keep spewing racism, and that lends more credibility to the idea that the country's racist, except, again, it's not racist in the way that they claim that it is. But they're getting to the point where it probably is accurate to characterize America as a racist country against whites, right? For as controversial as that sound, that is the end goal from these woke revolutionaries. That's what they want. They want the country to be racist against whites. This is what they want.
Alyssa, the woman.
So, but just to understand, are we saying, do we think the vast majority of Americans are racist? That's what I'm trying to, help me understand.
I think that there is a significant portion that are racist, and you can't dismiss my lived experience.
And I never would
when
say. I would never dismiss
When I say that there are a lot of racists in this country,
I
just
agree,
experienced my son walking down the beach being called the N-word several times in Florida.
There is
BS. BS. Absolute BS. Okay. I bet so much money that this did not happen. Okay. This did not happen. Okay. This is made up. Okay. This is her, the same woman that claimed that Jim Jordan was spitting, right? Spitting at her during a congressional hearing. Okay, this woman lied about it. Okay, on camera, we can see that Jim Jordan never even addressed her, but she went on this network and made that wild claim. When the video footage shows that she was lying, there's no doubt in my mind she's lying about this, right? Because there's no way that she, at the beach, was walking with her son, and everywhere she went, people were calling her the N-word, right? Or calling her son the N-word. No way, right? Wasn't happening. Wasn't happening. That's never happened to me before in my life, where I went out in public and I'm on a beach or somewhere and people are just calling me the N-word. Come on, bro. Like, that does not happen, okay? It don't happen. So, it's amazing how these people have to lie. That's what really blows my mind. It's like the supply of racism is so little in regards to the racism these people are looking for that they have to make up stuff like this. You have to just make up stories. Stories that, again, just don't even sound like it can be true. It's not true, right? That did not happen. Again, it's amazing how she picked a state like Florida. Why did she pick a state like Florida? The reason why she picked a state like Florida, even though the state is supposed to be such a racist state, such a terrible state, okay, but, you know, people like her continue to go to Florida all the time. Why are you always there if it's so bad? The reason why she picked a state like Florida is because she wants to smear Florida, because Florida is becoming more conservative in regards to how they vote. So now, you know, she was to say, well, Florida's a racist state. Well, if Florida's a racist state, if it's so racist that you're getting called an N-word on the beach, then why are you there? Why are you always in Florida, right? Again, these people, they make me sick. Right? They really do with these lies.
So you can't say, I believe that the vast majority of people aren't racist.
But again,
we
okay,
don't know
that's
that.
fair.
Well, I'm a so-called black person, right? I'm a so-called person of color. And based off my lived experience, I don't think that the vast majority of this country is racist, okay? I think that most of the racists in this country actually are probably not white, right? Okay, I'm just keeping it 100 with you. I think the most racist people in this country are people that happen to be non-white. Okay, and I'm telling you that based off my lived experience. And you can't dismiss my lived experience because I'm a so-called person of color, according to Sunny Hostin, right? Two can play that game. But regardless, your lived experience is anecdotal. By definition, it's anecdotal. Just because you have allegedly had a few racist encounters that I believe are made up, that doesn't mean that the country as a whole is racist. What that means is that, yes, there may be a few bad apples, but that doesn't mean that the country as a whole is racist towards so-called people of color.
Million people in this country. Right. I would never minimize your lived experience any more than I would mine as an Arab woman. But
she's calling out that he's divisive when she followed Trump, who was a birther. That was the beginning of the divisiveness.
And I can
right there.
Yeah. So here you have the Trump deranged view. Again, always trying to blame Trump for everything, right? Trump is the cause of everything. Trump is the problem. Okay. Amazing stuff. But, you know, Alyssa Farah Griffin didn't have to bow down to Sunny Hostin and her BS, okay? Talking about, you can't tell me the country ain't racist because I'm a so-called woman of color and blah, blah, blah. Well, Alyssa Farah Griffin technically is a woman of color too, right? So I guess, you know, she has her own lived experience and she can have her opinion on the topic. Your opinion is not the end-all, be-all. But, again, these people, it's just so funny how desperate they are to just make up stuff when it comes to racism, despite the fact that these people claim that the country is so racist, but yet they have to make up nonsense in order to back up their claims. It's really crazy to me. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.